Thanks for tuning in to the Real Women Chronicles podcast. I am your international certified life coach, Tiadra Taylor. The sole purpose of this podcast is to get you from where you are now to where you want to be. Yes, it's time to break chains and to get unstuck. Thanks again for joining in. Let's begin. Hello and happy Wednesday. Thank you guys for joining in for yet again another episode of the Real Women Chronicles podcast. I am your host. I go by the name of Coach T. I am your virtual certified life and relationship coach. All right, guys. So in light of my new release of the Breakup to Breakthrough Journal, I really want to do a small segment on breakups. So if any of you guys are going through a breakup, thinking about going through a breakup right now, you're still working on, deciding whether or not you want to break up, I really believe that this series will help you. Okay, I'm thinking I'm going to break this down into 3, maybe 4-part series. So just bear with me. I'm just going off the spirit and really just winging this as I go along, because I know that this is going to help somebody out there. Okay, again, as I stated before, if you are not aware, I just dropped a Breakup to Breakthrough Journal. The journal is available for purchase on my website. My website is therwcpodcast.com. You can go ahead and log on to my website and purchase that journal. If you are currently going through a breakup, listen, guys, this interactive 30-day motivational journal can really help you through that process. It's some coaching, interactive, thought-provoking questions in that journal, as well as lots of motivation to just help you through the stages of a breakup, and especially that first stage, that early stage where it hurts the most. And that is the stage that I want to touch on today, guys. I want to touch on that stage 1 of a breakup. Okay, so I want to start off by saying this. I consider stage 1 of a breakup as the initial time when the initial onset of the breakup begins. Now, let me tell you what's weird and what is sometimes weird for others to understand, but I get it. Is you may be going through the onset of a breakup mentally before you physically have removed yourself from the situation. So that's why this stage is it can be weird to others, because often as women, we have the capability of detaching and breaking up with a person mentally first. So I'm not, whether you're living with the individual, married to the individual, whatever that case may be, and you have now set forth the onset of that breakup. This is what stage this is. Okay. I want you to understand that there are a slew of things that can happen during stage 1 of a breakup. One thing in particular that often presents itself is fear. Okay, so let's address that, which I talk about that in various forms in previous podcasts. But today we're going to talk about the fear that comes when we encounter a breakup, whether it is something that we decided to do or whether it's something that was forced upon us. There's this fear that presents itself in this first stage. And that fear could be surrounded by the fear of being alone. That fear could be the fear of watching that person go off and be happy with someone else. The fear that you weren't good enough. The fear that you two will never reconcile and you're watching someone that you put in so much time and effort with walk away. There's fear that presents itself in this stage. During this stage, when that fear presents itself, allow that fear to show up. And what I mean by that is a lot of times we will force ourselves to try to push the fear away. And the problem is, by pushing the fear away, you never quite confront it. You never have the strength and the courage to address it. This fear shows us many things. It shows us more about ourselves than it does about this breakup in that relationship. That fear that you're feeling, it touches a chord. And the chord that it could potentially be touching could be a chord that's always been there. Your fear of loneliness and your fear of abandonment may not be something that this person brought into your life. It could be something that you have feared all of your life. And now it's presenting itself. In this stage of your breakup, it is time to look that fear in its face. Figure out where that fear is stemming from. Whether it's something from childhood, whether it's something within you. Is that fear coming from the fact that you're insecure with your ability to attract somebody better? Is that fear coming from your insecurities? Is that fear coming from your lack of faith? Address that fear in this stage, because it's coming from somewhere and it's telling you something that needs to be worked on within you. So again, the first thing that presents itself during this first breakup stage is fear. Number 2, I would have to say that the first stage of a breakup, that pain is debilitating at times. Okay, I'm sure whoever it is out there that's going through a breakup right now, you can get what I'm saying. I can almost feel the pain as I talk about it because I know it personally how it feels. Now, the most important part in this stage is taking that pain and embracing it. Just like you take that fear and you confront it, now you take that pain and you embrace it. And I know the first thing we want to do is just say, God, take this pain away. But let me tell you guys something. Pain changes us in ways that you could never imagine. I can personally tell you that pain has taught me how to escape from situations early on before it becomes a bigger and more debilitating experience. Meaning it's taught me how to not ignore red flags. It taught me how to follow my instinct and trust when things are not right and feel God's presence tugging on me. Yes, it hurts. Absolutely. But this is the stage that you embrace the pain. And if you listen to my very first podcast, that I've ever created, and my most popular podcast, even to this day, where I talk about how to get over a breakup, that's one of the things that I do talk about. And that is embracing the pain. It's important. That pain cannot be healed until you deal with it. And I've noticed that the people who try to run from it, try to overwork it, try to push it down, they end up not dealing with it early on and having to deal with it later on. Maybe even in the next relationship. That pain that you feel right now, if you don't deal with it, you're going to carry it. It's not going to disappear. So if you need to step aside, go a place by yourself and cry them tears, you cry them tears. Pain has to be dealt with. You don't want these feelings that you feel and this pain that you feel to resurface itself at a later date. I always tell people a lot of times that women often, we will deal with the pain up front. And sometimes men will deal with the pain later on in a breakup. And again, I say sometimes, this doesn't necessarily apply to everyone. But sometimes that's how it is. We deal with it up front. So by the time that we're healing and we're getting over it, he's just now starting. All I can say is, would you rather get it out the way now than have to confront that later? As time has gone on, as things and seasons have changed, as the person may or may not have moved on, do you want to prepare yourself and heal yourself so that you can deal going forward? In order to do that, it's time you confront that pain. And if you're not sure about how to confront that pain, again, the Breakup to Breakthrough Journal is available on my website. A lot of that confronting and the questions that we have to answer as we confront that pain is in that journal, y'all. I'm not just about trying to sell stuff. I am seriously aware of the changes and the things that need to be confronted when your heart is broken. I've gone through breakups. I've gone through a divorce. I get it. And now I see why God made me go through that amount of pain so that I could relate and coach other women on how to do it too. And that is what I've been doing for years now. Okay? So number 2, confront that pain. This first stage, it's all about conquering that fear and confronting that pain. You're not quite at the stage of acceptance yet. You're not there. It's new. And I get it. You're not there yet. I know there's probably people in your life that's telling you, well, it didn't work out, or he or she just wasn't for you, or they didn't treat you right anyway. I know what other people tell you, it sounds good and they mean well. They're telling you things to hopefully get you moving forward. But unfortunately, the heart and the mind sometimes are not on the same page. And it takes time. Number 3, in this stage that I want you to be mindful of. Try not to focus your energy so much on what that person did wrong. And let me tell you why that's important during stage 1 of a breakup. It's because whenever we're focusing our attention, or not even focusing attention, but pointing the finger at the other person, we miss the opportunity to take accountability. And we point the finger at somebody else as if they got control over our happiness. So this is why I think it's important to mention, to turn that finger inward and point it at yourself. Listen, Coach T has to give you a little tough love sometimes. It's necessary. You chose him or her. You put up with that. You ignored the red flags, maybe. You ignored God's whisper. When you sit here and you point the finger at the other individual, you give them control, and you are basically saying that it is your fault that I'm not happy. You have the control over my happiness. You have the control over my joy. And I am angry at you for taking my happiness away.